Hi friends, welcome back. This is Solomon Jagwe. Today we're going to be talking about a follow-up tutorial that has to do with bringing the ActorCore motion capture data into Daz Studio from the ActorCore motion platform. So if you're new to my channel, I kindly ask you spare a minute to please subscribe and hit that notification bell so you're alerted when I post a new video. And I thank everybody else who has subscribed and who has clicked like and shared my video. So thank you so much, guys. So I'm doing a follow-up tutorial to this tutorial that I posted about a day ago. When you watched it, it might not be a day ago, but so the idea again is to bring motion capture data from this platform into Daz Studio and be able to edit that mockup data. Okay, so if you import a file from here and you feel like it needs a few tweaks, I wanted to walk you through how to actually do that. And I highly encourage you to first watch this video because some of the things that I'm going to mention, I've already gone in depth and talk about how to bring the character first, prepare it, and how to make it ready for mockup in Daz Studio using this mockup data. So please watch this video first, and I'll link it in the description below so you have a chance to get to it. Okay. So the scene that we're working with is it's like this first responder. Considering that we are in a pandemic, I wanted to do like something that is relevant to what we're going through. And I'm praying for every one of you guys that is going through this pandemic, who has relatives or loved ones who have to deal with COVID. So the idea that I have in mind right now is to see if I can get a mockup file from here, and I'm going to be using this the Spanky Moves collection, which was given away for free. I think it is worth $200. And so I think if you sign up, you get to redeem it. Okay. And I talk again, there's another video that I created talking about that. But what I'm looking for is maybe the so the I'm thinking that this respond. I mean, they just fed up with COVID-19, just to get that frustration that we want this pandemic to be gone. So I want him to get up, say bye, and maybe he's ending his shift because these guys are putting their lives on the line for us to take care of all our loved ones who are suffering from COVID. So I wanted to get something like that. Okay, so I think what we'll do is the see ya, like he gets up and says see you, mockup. So this one right here. So that's the one we're gonna try to work with. And let me maximize this window. So one thing that I noticed about the mockup data, okay, so when you preview it, it looks great on this character, but your model might have different limb lengths. They might have like a longer torso or a shorter torso. So the retargeting might not work as well. So for example, if we go here and we switch out the character to maybe this character, and the playback will play back. Let me see if I can actually pause at the point where the character is getting up. Okay, so you see where the hands are for this character. So this looks great because you can see the hands are placed properly. And let's switch out to this character. And now you can see the problem is that these files, chances are that your character might have different limb lengths. So that's why you might want to come in and edit some of this mockup. Okay, so if you had like a character the same size as this previous model, this one for example, the proportions, the mockup will look great if the character ends up lining up properly. So the goal right today is to fix this mockup file after you send it to, first we'll send it to Daz Studio, and then I'll show you how to actually fix it. Okay. All right. So let's get out of here. And that file, I've already downloaded it. And because again, I have a tutorial that shows you the entire process. So please watch that before you get to this tutorial. So this is the character we have. Okay. And I'm going to get out of iRay. It looks really good. Go to smooth and let's go back to the perspective view. And so the process is that this model has to be in a T-pose before you even start applying mockup. And I mentioned it in the other tutorial, but let me go through it real quick. So the idea again is to first drag this file and drop it into the scene. Oh, sorry. Let me make sure the character is actually selected. Gmail T-pose. Okay. And then you save this file. Make sure you save this file. Okay. And then after the T-pose, let's actually export a copy of this model, because I need to show you why you need to fix using this particular model, fixing the mockup. But when you're bringing it back into Daz Studio, you need to use the default model, with the other tutorial that I mentioned. So let's go and export, and we call this responder T-pose 00. Let me copy this in case I need it later. Save. And again, these settings, yeah, just try to match the settings as you see them. I'm using FBX 2011. The moths are props, figures, and I've merged the clothing into the figure skeleton. Accept. Okay. And depending on, again, on your machine, this might take a little bit of time, or it might take a longer time. So, but I'm going to let it run through so you have an idea of how long it might take. Okay, so it's done. And so that model is saved. So now what I need to do is go up to the Scene tab up at the top, click Expand All. Okay, select the top. Make sure this is selected at the top. Scroll all the way down, because we're trying to prepare this model so it works with the mockup file data that's coming from ActorCore. So look for the last bond in this list. Press Shift, hold down the Shift key, and then click. Okay, and then we're gonna go. This is gonna show up the pose icon. Click on that, and then turn off the limits rotation off. So let it run through, and then you're gonna save a copy of this scene so that in case something happens, should there be a crash on your machine or whatever. So you want to always have a backup. So once it's done, we'll go ahead and save scene as. I'm just gonna do a copy of this. Say first responder T-pose limits off. Save that. Okay. Now we have a scene that we can always bring in the mockup file that is ready. All right. We'll just go for now. Let's minimize this and go to 3D Exchange. So in here, let me go to New. And so we're starting from scratch. So the idea again is to have that default Daz Studio model that we import in here. So let me see if I can actually bring that up. I kindly ask that you go to the other tutorial because it's a little bit longer, so I need you to run through. So the idea is I've already taken a default Daz Studio model, and I've converted it into an avatar, which I've saved here. Okay, and this is the model that I'm using right now. So this is for me becomes a template to send mockup data from here into Daz Studio. So I always have a copy of this, and whenever I'm importing mockup data, I use this model, this stand-in model, to apply the mockup data and then send it to 3D Exchange, which I then use to export a BVH file. So okay, so we go to Smart Gallery, and this is the mockup file that we've imported. Again, I mentioned that in the previous video. Double click on it, and so there's the character. So this model matches the model that we saw here in terms of the bone structure. So it looks like the hands are right in the same place as this character. However, you can actually see there's some protrusion going on in here. Okay, so this is the file that we want to work with, but as you can see, it still has some protrusion. So let me actually rewind this. And so the way you send this model to 3D Exchange is, let me collapse this a little bit. You go down here, okay, and go to the modify tab. I brought the timeline up so you can see the process, and you need to be able to see the mockup data here. If it's not visible, just click on this icon right here and make sure the motion is selected. It will show up. So if it's not there like that, you just click motion and then it will show up here. Okay, and we can also let's go back. There's our character. So I've already applied that mockup data on here. Okay, so to send it to 3D Exchange, first we need to send this model, the avatar, to 3D Exchange. So click in Edit in 3D Exchange. It's going to be brought in here with the T-pose, and it's ready to receive the mockup file. Okay, and then in iClone, go back to iClone, and then the collect clip, this on the timeline, select collect clip, and then click and drag up to the end of that clip. And you can always put the playback bar up at the top so you can see how far it goes. And sometimes it might be worthwhile to look at how many frames there are in here and click on this icon, then change it to 397, which is the length of the mockup data that we're trying to work with. Now you can go and click on Fit to Window so you can see the entire mockup file. Okay. Should you deselect and click away from Collect Clip, you can just go back to the beginning here, click, let's make sure you're on the first frame, and then click and drag to the end of the timeline where the mockup file ends. Okay. And that is the length of the animation. So from here all the way to the end. Then right click on that, make sure it doesn't get deselected. Right click and then select add motion to 3D Exchange. And as you can see, the data has been sent to 3D Exchange and it's playing back. Okay, so click playback so you can see. Okay, all right, so he's walking away. He's tired, he's taking a break from taking care of the relatives and the different member of society who are suffering from the COVID. And this is a tribute to first responders, by the way. So if you're a doctor, a nurse, someone who works in a hospital that has to deal with patients, I take my hat off for you. I take my hat off for you and pray for you because you guys are doing an awesome job. Thank you so much for looking out for us as a society. So this data is ready. So now I can actually go up here. So by the way, once you've sent the data from here, you've right click and add to 3D Exchange, and then you go to 3D Exchange. That data needs to be put on added to the perform list down here, the perform editor, and it's going to be on the animation tab. So click add to perform and then give it a name. And this, we're just going to say walk away, or maybe we'll call it take a break. Okay, so when it's ready, you can see that the BVH option has been activated. Click export BVH, and like I mentioned in the previous tutorial, click down here and select hip, click OK. Everything else stays the same except this, and then we can also give it a name. I'm just going to call this responder. Okay, click responder 1 because we're going to edit the mockup. Click OK, and it's been exported. So now we go back to Daz Studio. Remember the scene that we saved that has the T-pose and then all the rotation limits switched off. This is the one that you need to work with. And we saved it because we wanted to have a copy. Once we edit the mockup, we can reopen it. All right. So make sure you go to the top, select the character's name, and go to File, Import, and then I think we called it responder take a break. That's the one we need to import. Click Open. Make sure the adjust scene to match the file is selected because it's going to fill the timeline with the number of frames that are in the scene. Everything else is unchecked. Click accept. And it doesn't take very long because, again, depending on how long the mockup file is, for this one wasn't really long. So as you can see, the mockup data is kind of causing the hands to go through the knee of our character. So let's switch to array real quick so we can see better. And I'm using a dual GPU setup. That's why you can see the responsiveness is really quick. Okay, so the issue then is that the hand is going through the knee, which wasn't the case for the previous. So if you look over here, it looks all right. But for your character, because the character, the ones that I used as examples, that might not match your model. So that's why it's important to take it, go through the process of learning how to edit this mockup. And you can see here, we definitely don't have, the correct positioning of that. So now this is a part where we need to, the reason why we exported this model, because we want to edit the mockup that's in relation to this model. Okay, not the default one. The default one, we're just using it as a conduit to bring the mockup data into Daz Studio. Okay, so let's go back to 3D Exchange. All right, and for now we can delete this file because we want to go back to the T-pose, and we're going to edit that mockup. But before we edit the mockup, we need to import that file, the model of that character, the first responder. Okay, so for now, okay, so here's the first responder model that we exported. So we need to bring it in here. So just drag and drop. Yes. Nope, we don't want to save in there. Okay, so we're not importing animation, just the regular things. We can say adjust material color automatically, but for now we're really just interested in bringing a reference model that we can use to edit the mockup file. And I'm gonna let this process go through so you get a better idea of how long it takes. Okay. And by the way, just a quick heads up, you need to use the 3D Exchange, the pipeline edition, otherwise you won't be able to export the files out of here. So this was an automated process, and it was able to detect that there's a Genesis 8 character. So just press yes. Okay, and let it go through. Again, say yes. So there's our model. Okay, in a T-pose. So we need to do one more step, and that is convert this to a non-standard character and let it go through. So the skeleton has been applied, and then we need to test. Let's see if the fingers have been calibrated, for example. Preview, and as you can see, it's actually done an awesome job. And we can stop this, and then we can go and test lower calibration as well. Let's see, the character is kneeling properly. Not kneeling, but squats, doing squats. Okay, so there I see a quick problem right here. So we may need to maybe hide the geometry of the inside of the body. That is for the final render. This, you don't have to worry about it right now. Okay, but it's important for you to do these previews so that you see how your model is performing, so you know which things to fix. All right, so the model is actually ready to convert. So we can switch back to the T-pose and click convert. So now we can save this model as an avatar. Click on this button right here, and we'll call it responder T-pose 01. It's going to put in the default folder, which is going to be your custom folder in iClone, and click OK. And let it go through and finish the exporting. Okay, so when it's done, so we don't even need it here. We can just go to new file, and for now, let's go to iClone, and we need this model in iClone, so we can go back and click on Edit in 3D Exchange. So we'll bring it back. Okay, so it's waiting for us to bring mocap data. Okay, and then in iClone, we'll go back. If we go to the content folder, in click on the, if it's like this, on the project folder, just click on the avatar, and not in the template, but rather in the custom folder. It's going to save it on the root. So there's our character. So make sure you deselect this character over here and double click on our model, the first responder model. Otherwise it will replace it if you don't do that. Okay, so let's just minimize that a little bit. And in the scene tab, we can turn off the Genesis 8 for now. Okay, and then we can go back to Smart Gallery, make sure our model is selected here, the first responder character. And this is the mocap file that we are working with. Double click on it. It's going to go on the character. Let's collapse this a little bit over here. Rotate. Okay, so this is the part that we need to fix. We'll go to the modify panel over here. Click on this icon right here. Click on Edit Motion Layer. And now we can move the hands. And usually what I do is, because this mocap is on 2 hands, right? I need to select both hands. So I hold down the Control key, Control click. So let me do that again. You say, hold down the Control key, click on the first hand and then the second hand to select both of them. Okay. Now I can zoom in and I can raise these hands. Please make sure you're on the first frame so that these changes apply to the rest of the animation. Raise it up like that. If you gets selected, go back and do the Control select again. And now we can move it a little bit over here and move this up a little bit. So let's see, there's the knee right there. So in the real world with cloth simulation, this would like collapse a little bit, but because we're not simulating anything, we just really are interested in the hand. So now that the right hand is fixed and the left hand, now we can fix this as well. Just rotate and make sure you're doing the local rotation over here. And now I can rotate it a little bit, move it up. So this is how you refine the mocap data. Okay, so again, spend time in here so that you can fix it to your heart's content. All right. So again, this is just a quick example to show you how to fix it, but you could do a lot better with time. So if I play back, and I can actually close this, let's play back and see how it goes. There we go. So we fixed the mockup file, and we can actually loop it a little bit so we can see it again. All right. So we use this model as a reference, right? And it has the mockup data in it. Okay. So now if I go back to our content folder, this is the one that we are using as a conduit to send mockup data into 3D Exchange and then off to Daz. So then what I do is, even though it looks like it's fixed, so it's going to look different. So usually what I do is I go to the mockup tab here, the motion tab, go to custom, put it in the motion folder and do, well, it's I'm going to right click, add a new folder, and I'm going to call it edits. Okay, double click on it. Then I want to add this mockup file in here. So make sure it's selected. Click one time and call it fix. Be specific so it's easier to find. Fix responder 1. Okay, and I can also zoom in so I can see what I fixed. and I'm gonna right click and capture a thumbnail so that I know exactly what was fixed. All right. So now I can save this scene for later editing, or for just delete it for now. And then before I delete it, here's another quick way to apply the model. So you could load the mockup file, or you could simply select this one and double click on that character on the Genesis model. So you can see the difference, right? Because the original mockup file was like this, it looked okay, but because it's not a 1-to-1 ratio for our model, we use the stand. This is the one that we need fixing, and we've fixed it. But the one that we're using as a conduit doesn't look fixed, but that's fine because we know, like, if I select this model and double click on this standing model, look at that, it's actually fixed. It shows you that the mockup data retains the fixes that you put in. Now we need to send it to Daz Studio, so we need the base. So we need to take this standing model, the one that we are using as a conduit to send the mockup data into Daz Studio. So even though it doesn't look fixed, it actually is fixed, or actually it's an improvement to this model the way it was before, where the hand was protruding. So we need to use this conduit to send the data into 3D Exchange and then over to Daz Studio. So what we do is select this character and go to on the modify tab and click on 3D Exchange, edit in 3D Exchange, and it's going to be sent here. So there's no data yet, so we need to go back to iClone, and then let's increase this size of this, and we make sure that we can see from the beginning to end. Under the collect clip, drag left, drag all the way to the end. Okay, and right click and add motion to 3D Exchange. Okay, so if we stop this and rewind, you can see the improvement. So this is not the end of the edit for sure, because once you send this mockup data to Daz Studio, you might notice some other things, but that's why this process is important for you to learn, is that you will be able to see what needs fixing, then coming back into iClone and going back and bringing this model to replace this character, edit, save the mockup data here, different iterations as you go on improving until you're happy, and then use this process to send it to 3D Exchange. Okay, now this is the motion that we have here, and you click on add to perform under the animation tab, and we'll call this responder fix. Okay, press enter, and just as you can tell, I mean, that's the mockup data that we need to send from beginning to end. All right, now we're ready to send to export as a BVH. So click on BVH export, change the name to responder or something that you can remember. Let's just call it 3 or 4, depending on what you want. And then this is key here. Make sure you select heap. Click OK. So that's important to be able to get the translation into Daz Studio. Then find the folder where you want to save the mockup data, so the BVH file, so you can relocate it in Daz Studio. Click OK. All right. Now we're done with our 3D Exchange, and we can come to Daz Studio, and we're going to go ahead and open that file with the limit off. Okay, and this is for now. Let me go to General tab here, switch to Active Viewport. I think it's okay, that's fine, because I wanted to see more of this. So zoom out. So this is the file that we saved that has the rotations off, and it is in a T-pose, so it's ready to receive the mockup data. So go make sure you're using smooth, not array. Go to File, Import, and see, which one did we say? Responder 4, Fix, Open, Adjust Scene to match, so it can add all the keyframes onto the timeline and the range. Click Accept. All right. So as I said, that the edits weren't the end of it, but you can see that there's some improvement for sure. So let's go to array. And let it process. So remember when the hands were protruding through the knee? So this is where you can see what else needs fixing, and then you can go back to iClone. But for sure, this is the process that you would go through to fix any issues that you may be encountering here. Although it looks okay, but remember when we switch the character to somebody else, and it's pause, there was that issue. So we've improved the mockup, and of course, if you with more time, you can refine it and make it really look much better. But you can see the hands have definitely improved, and that is the data inside of Daz Studio improved. We're giving a rest to our first responder here. So I hope that was helpful, guys, and thank you for hanging in there from beginning to end. It's kind of a lengthy process, but it's important for you. Once you know it and you've learned it, then it becomes effortless. And actually, because you can do it much quicker. Right now, because I'm talking, it seems like it takes forever, but really, the process is much shorter than me when I'm doing it when I'm doing the tutorial. But there we did it. So we can actually go in and refine this some more. But I hope this process gives you a starting point to know how to go into getting the ActorCore Mocap data, finding something that you want to use, looking at it and seeing what needs fixing, and then sending it to iClone for fixing, like we did here, and using a stand-in character as a reference to see what needs fixing. So we needed to move these hands over a little bit more clearly. So this is the process that I use to edit the mockup from the ActorCore and refine it, send it to 3D Exchange, export as a BVH, and then import it into Daz Studio so it can be fixed, rendered in Array. And I mean, there's still a step in some revisions that need to be done here, but clearly you can see there's some improvement in the mockup data. So guys, thank you so much for staying all through until the end. If you've made it this far, I appreciate your support, and I hope that you're staying well. Please stay safe. Wear a mask when you head out, because we are our brother and sisters keeper. Much love to everyone, and continue to dream big. Don't give up on your dreams, guys. Much love, guys. See you next time with another tutorial and another insight. And I hope this is helpful. Thank you for everyone that sent in the questions and who inquired on how you could actually do this. And to the first responders and all the healthcare workers out there, thank you so much for helping us through this pandemic. We really, really appreciate the work that you're doing. Bye for now.